Hello, this is Keith Owen. Welcome back. Today's tutorial is going to be on how we could look up certain values in our data set in Excel. This is Excel 365 version, and we're going to be using a combination of index and match and XLOOKUP functions, and we're going to compare both of them. And first of all, what it's going to do is basically once I enter the formula over here, let's say for index and match, it's going to find that value in this matrix that we have here based upon the conditions that I set over here on the left. Now, over here on the left, I just created a drop-down list, data validation list, and it's for the unique regions that we have up here in our top header. And then the month and the year is going to be unique values in our second header here. And then, of course, the product that we're looking at, which is a unique list of these products over here on the left-hand side. So we're going to learn how to do this, looking up these values, even when we have a double header like this. Now, sometimes as a data analyst, you come across data like this where you have multiple headers and you want to be able to look up information based upon that. So first of all, we're going to do this by using a helper column, okay? And then we're going to also perform the same action without using the helper column. So let's create our helper column up above here. So we're just gonna create a simple concatenation, which is equal to the value that we have here, and then we concatenate that with the value that we have here, and then press enter. Now, as you can see, what it's doing is since this row here is formatted as a date, that's why it's returning the 44927. So that represents January 2023. So we're just concatenate those values together, and we're going to copy this all the way over to the right. Okay. And what that does is just basically, since I did not fix these values up here as an absolute, as you go to each column, it changes, it keeps the row the same, but changes the column. So it's going to grab this value and concatenate that with this value here in the second row header. So once we have the double header, now let's go over here. Let's see how we can build this index and match formula based upon these conditions that we set here. So in other words, we want to find the sales value where the region is north, okay, which is going to be over here towards the right, where the month and year equals April 2023, which is over here. So now we're going to be looking in this column right here, and we want to pull the sales value based upon the product of keyboard. So if we look over here to the left, we got keyboard. So in other words, when I enter this index and match formula, it should return 7,051. So let's go ahead and build this index formula, and then I'll explain it afterwards. So I'm going to type in index, tab into that. Now how this works is the first argument to index is the range where we're going to find a value. So in other words, we want to find this value. So, but since we have multiple conditions that we're trying to find, we want to be able to highlight the entire range of data. So the value that we're going to find is somewhere within this data range that we're selecting here. So now the second argument is we're going to be getting the row and column to return in this range. So in other words, this value here that we're going to return, it's in a specific row and it's also in a specific column. So the second argument, we're going to be using the match function, tab into that. Now, what is our lookup value for the row area? So our lookup value is going to be this value right here, because we're trying to match these product values here. So that's our lookup value. Now, comma. Now, where are we going to find this keyboard right here, this value that's selected here? Well, it's going to be in this range here. So we're going to select that. That's the range where we're going to find it, comma. And then what do we want to find? We want to find the exact match. So we want to find keyboard in this range, and it has to be an exact match. So we can put 0. We're going to close out this match function. Now we're going to try to find the column that keyboard is in and this value is in. So we want to be able to find this column. So we want to do match again. And now what is our lookup value? So now this is where our helper column comes into play. So our lookup value is going to be, we want to find the region of north. So we're going to click on this value right here. And we want to concatenate that with the month and year, which is going to be this value right here. And don't worry, after I press enter and get the answer, we're going to go through this and dissect it to see what each and every one of these things is returning. So you have a better visual of what's happening. Comma. Now the lookup array. So in other words, where are we going to find these values here once they're concatenated together? Well, we're going to find it in this helper column that we select up here. So that's that. And then what do we want? We want the exact match. So we want to close out the match function, and now we want to close out the index function, and then press enter. Okay. So as you can see, we brought back 751. 751, the exact number. So let's change up these parameters here. Let's go to east. Okay. It comes over here. So we're looking for east. Okay. That's in this area right here. We're looking for the April, East April. Then we want to look for the product keyboard. So we go find it in this row, keyboard, and we scroll over, and that's how we come up with the 5412. So we know that this formula is working for multiple different conditions. Now let's apply, how can we find the same answer but using the XLOOKUP function? Okay, so let's go over here and let's build this. So the XLOOKUP function is going to be equal XLOOKUP. Tab into that. What's our lookup value initially? Well, we're going to be building an XLOOKUP, a double XLOOKUP, and you'll see in a second. Okay, and then once we build that, I'll jump back here to show you step by step how index and match are calculating things and how XLOOKUP is doing the same thing. So our lookup value in this case is going to be our keyboard first. Okay, so we want to do this. Okay, that's our lookup value. The next argument is the lookup array. So where are we going to find keyboard? Well, we're going to find it in this range here. Okay, comma, what do we want to return? Well, this is where the double X lookup comes into play. So now we want to do another X lookup. And what is our lookup value this time? Well, we want to be able to match on the columns, okay? So what we want to do is we want to concatenate again this value. This is our lookup, which is the region. Add to that our month and year, okay? Now that's our lookup value for this function. And where are we going to find this value here that we have here? Well, we're going to find this in the helper column. Okay. Okay, now we got that. And now comma. And then let's see. Now we want to eventually find the value, our sales value. Well, where are we going to find it? Well, we're going to find it in this whole range here. Okay. And now we want to close out that XLOOKUP, close it out again, and then press enter. Okay, we got the same value. Let's double check again. Let's go to north, and this time let's change up the product to anything, monitor. Okay, so we got the north column. So these areas are the north. We want April 2023, and then we want to look for the monitor product, which is here. So that's how we got to that. Now let's step back and let's see how this is calculating everything. Okay, remember index. The first argument is where are we going to find the value that we're looking for. In this particular case, we want to be able to pull out the sales value, okay, for this combination of conditions. And where are we going to find the sales value? Well, first of all, we're going to find it in this entire range where all these numbers are. We're not going to find the value that we're looking for in the headers. We're not going to find it over here in the product list. We're only going to find it in this range. So you highlight the range where you're going to find your ultimate end result. Okay, the second one is match. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this second argument, Control C, escape, and let's just arbitrarily put it over here, equal, Control V, enter, and let's see what it returns. And let's see why it returned 7. Okay, so let's go back over here. Okay, match. What are we matching on? We're matching on C19. Okay, the value in C19 is monitor. Okay, and where are we going to find monitor? Well, we're going to find monitor in the range that we select here. So that's this range here, and we want an exact match. So if you come over here, understand we're returning row 7 out of this range here. Why are we returning row 7? Well, this is row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So monitor appears in the 7th row in this range that we select here. So that's why it returns 7. Let's go on to the next match function. So let's go and copy this. Control C, escape. Let's go over here, equal, press enter. Now, why did it return 8? So let's dissect this portion of it. So let's highlight this up in the formula bar. C17 and C18. This is our lookup value basically. So it equals north and then 45017. Okay, which equates to north region April 2023. So we're looking for north April 2023. So we know that it's going to be found in this column. Where are we going to find this value that we have here? Well, it's going to be found in this range here, okay, which is our helper column. So we look at these. So this is the value here, okay? So that's how we got that. So again, we're looking for this value, which is north 45017. I'll press F9 to get that. Okay, let's press escape. And we're trying to find that value in this helper column range right here. So why did it return 8? Well, it returned 8 because this is column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So that's how it came up with 8, okay? Now, what index does, once we have the value of 7, let's go back here. Once we have the value of 7 returned here and 8 returned here, so what it does is then it looks in this entire range, this data range here. Where's row 7? This is the second argument. Row 7 is here. And the third argument returns 8, which is column 8. So it kind of scrolls over. So we're down to row 7. Comes over here. This is column 8. And that's how it comes up with 3974. So that's index and match. Now, XLOOKUP is a little bit differently. Let's press escape here. Let's erase this. XLOOKUP works a little bit differently. So XLOOKUP, let's first do this. C19 is the lookup value. So that's this value here is our product monitor. Where are we going to find monitor? Well, we're going to find it in this range that we select here, which is the second argument. So that first part is going to be return 7 again, because 7 is the row number 7 where monitor appears. So the second XLOOKUP, let's do this separately so you can see what's happening here. Control C and then escape. Let's bring it over here. Let's press enter. And you'll see why in a second. It returns an array of values right here. So this XLOOKUP is taken again, concatenation of these two values, North and April 23. Where are we going to find that value? We're going to find it in this helper column up here. Okay. Once it finds that, what do we want to return? Okay. So we're looking for North, April 2023. Okay. In this range, which is the entire data range. But this value right here is the key, because it's going to take this and find it in this range, which is column 8. So once it gets column 8, we want to return column 8 in this entire range that we selected here. So that's why we got an array of values for each row in this column only. So once it does that second XLOOKUP, as you can see here, this is our return array for the first XLOOKUP. And remember what I said in the beginning, the first part of this XLOOKUP returned row number 7. And that's and then it takes the number 7. Let's count down 7 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And that matches up with that. So that's how XLOOKUP works. Now let's build the same two formulas, but without using this helper column that we have here. And it works the same, basically the same range. We're just using different selections here. So let's build this next one using index. So we're going to do index, tab over. What is our range? Again, where are we going to find our sales value? It's going to be somewhere within this range right here. Okay, our second argument is a match. Tab over. What's our lookup value? Our lookup value is first on a row, which is monitor. Where are we going to find it? We're going to find it in this range right here. And then we want an exact match. Okay. Now, comma, where are we going to find? Now we got to be able to match up on our column values. So we do another match. What's our lookup value? In this case, it's going to be this value right here, concatenate it with this value right here, okay, comma. Where are we going to find a combination of these two values right here? Well, this is where it's different than before. Before we were using a helper column up here, but now we're going to be concatenate these two rows together here. So we're going to first select the range right here, okay? That's the region. We're going to concatenate that with this value right here, which is the second row. Okay, comma, we want the exact match. Close out that, the index, and then press enter, and we get the same value. So let's highlight this again. Let's see what this is. The first argument here is going to return, as you can see, north 4517. What's this going to return? A combination of all the values, which is basically equals, let's press F9, basically equals our original helper column. As you can see, this matches up with these helper values right here. So that's how that's done. Let's press escape. Okay, now let's do the same thing, but only using XLOOKUP, and we're not going to be using this helper column here. So we're going to do equal XLOOKUP, tab into that. Our lookup value again is going to be first on our row here, monitor. Where are we going to find that value? We're going to find it somewhere within this range. Now our double XLOOKUP again, tab into that. Oops, we're going to do that. We're going to concatenate these two values together. Okay, comma into that. Again, we're going to be using the two double headers instead of a helper row. So we're going to be first doing this, selecting this range, concatenate. We're going to be doing that. Okay. And now what do we want? We want an exact match. Let's close out this XLOOKUP. And then let's close out the first XLOOKUP. Press enter. Okay, let's first of all, I might have did a syntax error. Let's figure this out. C19. This value. Okay, ampersand. Give me a second. C3. Oh, the range. I did this incorrectly. Okay, so we want XLOOKUP, which is the lookup array or lookup value. The second argument is the lookup array. The return array is not 0. The return array is actually this entire range here. I was thinking I was doing index and match. That's why. Press enter, and now we got the same value. Again, this is critical to understand for whenever you want to look up values within your data set. These two functions are known for that. There are VLOOKUP and stuff like this, but this is, I wanted to show you how you could get to the same answer using two different functions, or in this case, three different functions, because index and match are a combination of two functions, and then we got XLOOKUP. So hopefully this gave you an idea on how both index and XLOOKUP can return the same result within your data set, and also by using double headers to look up the values that you want. Now, if you're wondering, first of all, I will include this data set in the description below so you can follow along, and two, you're probably wondering why. Well, when I select something like this, I highlight the exact answer. Well, this is done through conditional formatting. So if we go up to Home tab, conditional formatting, I'm going to manage rules. And then this is my conditional formatting. And so our conditional formatting is this. Let's edit the rule. And what this AND function does is basically, first of all, you highlight the range that you want to apply this conditional formatting to, which is our data range where all the sales values equal. And we're asking it to evaluate each cell, okay, in this data range. So it's gonna look at, so the AND function is you're gonna pass into that multiple conditions, and they all have to return true in order to format the value that you want. So we're basically asking, is our value here in C17 North equal to the value in here, to here, which is over here. And then we want to ask it, is C18, a month and year, equal to the value that's in here. And our last argument, we're going to ask it, is C19, which is this value, equal to what's in here in this column. So in other words, it goes through these conditions and ask it, is north equal to this, any value in this range here? And if it is, again, it asks the second one, is this value over here equal to the value that's in this range over here in this row? Because that's why I have an absolute range in here. And then the same thing, as it goes through everything, it's going to ask if C19 is equal to the value that's in here. So the column is going to stay the same, but the row will change as it cycles through everything. So that's how that works. And then how I'm getting these values to appear. So whenever I enter in a value here, I'm going to display the formula out. So in other words, I'm checking if G18, okay, not equal to blank. So if it's not equal to the blank, that means there's something in this cell. And if it is, I'm going to grab the formula from this cell, because that's what formula text does. You pass it a certain cell to that, and it takes the formula that's in this cell here and it displays it over here. So that's how that works. Again, this was a little bit in depth. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, practice your skill sets and looking up values in your data set. This helps out a lot, especially if you're in accounting and you want to look up values in your income statement or balance sheet and stuff like that. This helps out a lot. Again, thank you for stopping by. You have a great day. Remember to subscribe to my channel, and as always, please like and share this video. Thank you, and I'll talk to you on the next one.